don't limit yourself, like I said before, don't limit to just data analyst and that's it. Just, keep your mind open, see the possibilities, and then later on, after you get the first job, you can experiment with different areas of the data and see, okay, this is what I really like. I want to become this, and go from there.
Hey nerds, Monica here. Welcome to the Data Podcast for Nerds, where we get to talk to amazing professionals and ask them all about how they're using data to solve the world's problems. We're highlighting skills that data professionals use on a daily basis. Plus, we always include some fun bits because we're all nerds here and we love to have fun. So thank you for tuning in, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And as always, folks, happy learning. Today with us, we have Thais Cooke. How are you doing today, Thais?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
Awesome. So we typically start off our episodes by understanding people's origin stories. So if you could please tell us about your background and how you got to where you are today in your career.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to try to summarize as much as I can. So my background is in dentistry, and I was working as a dental hygienist for about 11 years, and I was really burned out for many different reasons. Not going to go into details. And then COVID hit. So that I think was the last drop that I needed to, I need to do something else. And at that time during the shutdown, I was hired by a friend of mine to basically enter data for a dental lab. So she was the manager of this dental lab. They're receiving a lot of cases, all digital, about 120 to 150 cases a day. So she said, we need somebody just to receive those cases, enter the data in your Excel spreadsheet, and just, but I need somebody who has a background in the industry. So what the products are. So I'm like, sure, I'll do that. And I started doing that. And then a few months passed by, and because I'm a nerd, I start noticing a few patterns on the data. And I start noticing, wow, we're receiving so many implants this month. Or, oh, I haven't seen this office in a while. They're sending us cases again. And the wheels on my brain just start moving. And I literally go on Google and I put in there, how to analyze data. I had no idea of what to do. So I put it in there, and I ended up running into Alex the Analyst YouTube channel. And in one of his older episodes, he was saying how he transitioned, I believe, was from recreational therapy into data analytics. And I didn't even know that was possible. I really had no idea. And one of the things that he kept stressing is you have to learn SQL, you have to know SQL. And I decided, you know what? Since the SQL is a very important tool for data analysis, and I'm going to try to learn. And if I see that is something that I can learn, that makes sense, I'll go down this route. If it's something that goes completely over my head and it's too technical, it makes absolutely no sense to me. I know that's not for me, and forget about it. I say that as soon as I wrote select star, I fell in love with SQL. I'm like, oh my God, I did not know I could do that. What else can I do? And I started doing tutorials and, and learning, different things. And then, make long story short, I went back to my original, my original issue. What I wanted to do was analyze data for work. So I start analyzing the data and everything, and I go to my boss and I say, hey, I have been playing around with the data that I'm entering. I gather some insights. What do you think? And she looked and she's, oh my God, how did you learn how to do this? And I told her what I had been doing, and she said, yes, absolutely. We need those insights. I need to know which offices to contact. Please keep doing it. So I kind of sort of became like a data analyst on the spot. But that was a small company, so we didn't have a data department or anything like that. And eventually, once I felt more confident and I felt that I kept upskilling, and once I felt that my skills were okay, I think my skills are good for me to go and apply for a bigger company, I started doing that until eventually I ended up in the job that I am now. That it's a healthcare company. So that's it.
That's amazing. So we're going to actually off the bat transition into the fun bits because I think the whole episode's going to be fun bits.
Sure.
Hey nerd, are you looking for a career in data? I would absolutely love to help you out. I just launched a data career strategy program that helps folks break into data without breaking anything. I provided a link in the show notes if you want to learn more information about it. Now, back to the fun bits. So, I want to deep dive further into your journey with SQL, particularly highlighting how SQL is kind of a little bit different in the healthcare industry and what skills are involved there that you brought with you from your experiences in dentistry.
Okay, so healthcare is a very broad industry, but at the same time, there are many niches that you can um, follow, that you can go through. For instance, you can go into the insurance part of healthcare. You can go into the clinical research part of healthcare. You can work in a hospital to do workflows and things like that. So it it's broad, but it can be specialized too in a way. And the way that SQL is going to work is to, depending on the question that you're going to have, a lot of times you have to integrate sources of data from different places. And also because of security, of course, the data is very fragmented. For There's a lot of compliance issues, of course, because all healthcare is very sensitive data. So it's important to know that. And SQL helps to integrate all of the information together so you can build your story and build your analysis. So that's pretty much how, yeah, in a nutshell, like in a very broad manner, that's how you would use SQL. One of the ways.
Okay. So then what of those little niches do you fall into?
So where I fall into is more into workflows and how to optimize workflows in healthcare.
Okay.
Yeah.
So explain what that means. Like what types of projects do you work on?
So working with workflows means we want to make sure that we have our goals for, as far as, okay, we are reaching a certain population. We want to ensure that everybody's being taken care of. So we look into the workflows to make sure that those steps on the workflow have been completed, to ensure that there's nobody left behind when there's a project or when there's a campaign.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So when you're first learning SQL, I guess we know that you use the Alex the Analyst to get you started. How were you, or if you were building a portfolio to showcase those talents?
So there are many different places that you can find data. Kaggle, data.org is another great one. Maven Analytics has the dataset playground that I really enjoy with different challenges. So it's not really that hard to find the data in those projects, and you just have to play with the data sets.
Yeah. Are there any healthcare specific sites that you leveraged to get some data?
I think I used some on data.org, I think, especially during COVID. There were some COVID data sets. The other thing that just came to my mind that I like to is analyze personal data. That is really interesting. It's super interesting. I've seen people that like to run or work out, analyze their data. I have analyzed data for my sleeping patterns, which was really interesting. It was super interesting to do. So absolutely to realize why I couldn't sleep well at night. So it was super interesting to do that one.
Tell more about that project. What did you find?
Well, I found that I wake up because of noises. Any little noise wakes me up. I found that I found that out, and then I can't fall back asleep. So I invested in a white noise machine that helped a lot. And at that time, I have two kids, and my kid was only 2 years old, and she would come to the room and interrupt my sleep. I'm like, well, I have to wait until she sleeps through the night. That one, I have no, I have no choice.
So, what kinds of things like did you put into place besides the white noise machine that kind of helped you out?
I think that was pretty much it. Oh, there was also light for some reason also bothered me. So I also put a what is that called?
The face mask?
Face masks. That's it. The face mask. Oh, and earplugs too.
Oh, I've tried sleeping with earplugs and I
Yeah,
can't for some reason.
yeah. It's a hit or miss. The white noise machine works better.
Yes. Yes, I have a humidifier that kind of makes some noise in the background, so that helps too.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yes. I wonder, have you played with it with your white noise machine? Does it have other options where you can
Yeah.
choose like ocean, or some people do like whale noises? I find that to be a little bit too much.
The best one is the rain. I love the rain noise. You put the rain noise, that works really well. Yeah,
That sounds really relaxing. Is
yeah.
there thunder involved in that one?
There it's funny because there's two. There's one that is thunder, and there's the other one that's just rain.
Yeah. I'm one of the ones that finds the thunderstorms relaxing.
Yes, yeah.
Until the lightning almost hits your house and then there's a loud crack. That's a little bit disruptive.
Yes.
So, while you were going through your journey of learning SQL, how were you going about sharing your learning journey?
Okay, so this was really interesting because well, like I said, when I did all the transitions during COVID, so I was working remotely. And I start thinking, okay, if I wasn't remote, if I was in an office, would what would I do to interact with other data professionals? I would probably go and try to hang out with them, try to, hey, let's grab lunch, But of course, that scenario was pretty hard since, everybody was in lockdown. And so what I did is I used LinkedIn. So that's when I start going there and really commenting. Initially, I wasn't posting anything. I was just commenting in other people's posts, in other data professionals. They would post something. I would go, "Hey, that's a great idea. That's where did you find the data for this?" And people on LinkedIn in data are so nice and so helpful, which is amazing. Like I've never had anyone really go, oh, I'm not going to share my resources. Go do something else. I've never had that. Thank goodness. Quite the opposite. People were, hey, you want to learn SQL? Here are some sites, and once I got a little, working with SQL and everything, and I thought to myself, I'm doing this for 3 months. I'm not an expert by any means, but maybe I can share what I have been learning and I'll help somebody who was in my place 3 months ago. So I started doing this, and the response was really people, oh my God, where did you find those resources? Where? And I realized, man, I can share my journey. It's like there's so many benefits. I can share my journey, which is a way to share, let's say, to potential employers. Hey, look what I know how to do in SQL. Look what I know how to do. But at the same time, I'm helping somebody. I'm helping people. So yeah, so I start sharing on LinkedIn and got good response, and that was it.
Absolutely. Is that how you got your current job?
No, so I got my current job on was just applying. I start applying, but One one good tip that I say is because initially I was just looking for data analyst. That was the only title I was looking for. And then I started thinking, I have experience in healthcare. Let me see what healthcare analyst brings me. And I started looking for healthcare analyst. And then there was that niche they started bringing. That's how I found my job. Was as a healthcare analyst. I mean, the title is still data analyst, but because I put in the word healthcare, it started to bring healthcare industry. So healthcare
Yeah.
companies.
Yeah. So that's a really really good tip for those that are trying to transition into data is that, the data analyst title can be expanded upon and the different areas of expertise that you have, you can leverage that. So think about like financial analyst, or if you're like myself, audit analyst or a compliance analyst, right? So anywhere where you're working, there is data and you can leverage data.
Yeah, yes, that's the beauty of the data industry. Is really everywhere.
Absolutely. What other tips do you have to share with folks that are trying to transition into the data space?
I would say don't be afraid of rejection because it's going to happen. So, yeah, I remember my first interview. I hung up the phone and I said, this was horrible. I wouldn't even hire myself. I did so bad. I knew it. Like, but you know what? That was a step stone. And I knew what not to say in another interview. I'm like, okay, so now I learned what I cannot say in an interview. So
Would
the
you
second,
mind sharing what you should not say?
oh, it was just so weird. I remember that the recruiter asked me, "Oh, how did you get your job?" Instead of saying, "Oh, I had a network, I had some connections, and with my expertise, I ended up like instead of saying exactly the same story, but in a more professional manner, I just say, "Oh yeah." A friend hired me. It was so awful. It was awful. Let's just put it this way. It was pretty bad. Um, Another one too that another tip too, let's say that they are asking for visualization for a tool that you don't know but you know something similar. For instance, let's say that you're very good in Tableau. You know Tableau is your background, and this company really wants you to have Power BI experience. Instead of you saying in an interview, oh, I don't know Power BI, and leave it like that, you can say, well, I don't have much experience with Power BI. However, I do have a lot of experience with Tableau, and those visualization skills are very easily transferable. So I'll be glad to transfer those skills into Power BI and learn another tool because that also shows willingness to learn. Instead of you just, no, I don't have the experience. That's it. So that's another.
That's a really good tip. Yeah. And showing enthusiasm for wanting to learn other things, I think is very helpful.
Exactly. And remember, you just need one yes. You just need one yes. Keep applying. In a sea of no's, you get one yes, and that's it. I feel that getting that first job into data analytics, that's the hardest part. And then once you start accumulating experience, and of course, it's not an automatic pilot. You're not going to, oh, okay, I got my first job and that's it. I'm going to sit back and wait. No, keep upskilling, and then to evolve in this industry gets easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you provide so much for the data community, and I appreciate that so much. You have a new LinkedIn Learning course on
Yeah.
SQL used in the healthcare industry. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I remember when I was first starting to learn SQL. If you think about most of courses, they are in SQL. They're very much something like, okay, order table with customer table, and it has a lot to do. Or let's say you work in a restaurant, and what times, or the peak times, and those are more the type of scenarios that you learn in SQL tutorials, which is absolutely fine. Or like in managers and the employees, and it's absolutely fine to learn like that for sure. So But I remember going to healthcare. I really had to brainstorm different scenarios on how I'm going to use SQL for this particular niche. Because, like I said, healthcare is so big, but at the same time, can be so specific as well. So, what I did in my courses, I did different scenarios in the healthcare industry. I did one scenario that deals with population health. I did one scenario that deals with like I said, workflows in a hospital, the other scenario, if you work in clinical research, and so on. And there were still a lot in healthcare that I couldn't cover just because it's so expensive, so big in healthcare. There's like pharmacy, there is claims for insurance, there's so many different others that I just didn't have the time to cover. But I did very specific scenarios and divided by that and saying, okay, let's say you work in clinical research. How are you going to use SQL if you work in clinical research and give different scenarios on how to use that? So yeah, that was very interesting. It was a great experience to do the course.
That's fantastic. And all of the areas that you didn't yet get to cover, now you have all this content for a second course.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have any other recommendations or words of encouragement for the listeners out there?
Yes. So what I say is data is an amazing industry to be in. And you can start in data, let's say, for instance, I started in data analytics because I loved doing visualizations. But now, honestly, I don't do many visualizations, and I am really in love with the engineering side of data, which is so weird. I never expected that to happen. So what I would say to people is get into this industry, get there with an open mind, because there is so much you can do in data. You can be a data analyst and you can evolve as an individual contributor and just be that super high level data analyst, or you can become a data analytics manager, or you can go into data engineering or data science and things like that. So it's really the sky's the limit in this industry. So I would say that don't limit yourself, like I said before, don't limit to just data analyst and that's it. Just, keep your mind open, see the possibilities. And then later on, after you get that first job, you can experiment with different areas of the data and see, okay, this is what I really like. I want to become this and go from there. And if you don't like, you can always go back and do something else. So yeah, I absolutely love the data industry. So yeah, it's an amazing field to be in.
It is amazing. Well, thank you so very much, Thais, for coming on the show and sharing your story with us. If any of the audience members have any questions for you, where can they find and or follow you?
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. I try to post once, maybe twice a week, but I'm always commenting on people's posts. So, and you can find my course right on my profile too. So,
Amazing. Thank you so very much again. And as always, folks, happy learning.
happy learning.